And hello, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing episode in Sharing Your Journeys. Today, I have Rob Speedking, who I got to actually know through Instagram not that long ago. And let me tell you, his stuff is amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm probably biased saying it, but also because you're a Star Wars fan, I've noticed, and I'm like, oh my god, I love Star Wars. So I was like, I have to get Rob on just because he seems his unapologetic self, and we love that on here. So Rob, hello, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'll tell you what. No, thank you. First things first. The, the fact. Okay, first of all, I'm a huge fan of yours. I have been following you for many years, following your blog. You have been a massive influence to me when it came to blogging.
Yeah,
I could do nothing but gush and just tell people you need to go check out Sonny's blog just
thank
because
you.
what you put out there is so amazing, and so it is what it is. I feel honored to be on your program. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, I get so emotional when I hear things like that. So, Rob, okay, so obviously everyone's going to be intrigued to know how did you start your hosiery journey? Where did it all begin? And obviously, I just want to hear everything as to how you completely just rock it now and you're just so confident with it.
Believe it or not, it really my journey started like what most guys does. I mean, the first time I ever wore a hosiery whatsoever was when I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old,
Okay.
and I had to wear these. I remember these navy blue opaque tights to play a royal guard in a school production, and so going forward, as a teenager, I always, would, when I would be home, I was a latchkey kid through the 80s. I was born in the 70s, but grew up through the 80s. So I was around pantyhose all the time,
Mm.
or tights, as you guys call it. Um, and so, I've tried just like everybody else. And I believe it or not, I would actually be jealous of the women who got to wear it. It's like, why can't I wear it? It looks so awesome. I love how shiny this is. This is so cool. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
But fast forward, just because of time constraints a little bit, I know you have. My journey really, really, really didn't get going until really about 13 years ago, when
Wow,
I was
okay.
diagnosed with restless leg syndrome. And I've got a YouTube video that I put out years ago when I finally kind of came out to everybody about it, because I was one of these people like, I don't want somebody to hold something over my head and say, I'm going to tell everybody you wear pantyhose.
Yeah.
That's that's not me. I'm an A type personality where I'm like game the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Yeah.
And so I was going to nip stuff in the bud, and people would ask, why you wear? Why you wear? Well, guess what? Here it is. So what got it going was I'm a recovering heavy metal DJ slash heavy metal drummer. I abused my body a lot playing in thrash metal bands, power metal bands. When you got both legs going and both arms going, and you drinking beer and you drinking alcohol and stuff. And plus, I used to work on a farm as a teenager, worked retail and worked as a machinist apprentice. Now I work for a major telecommunications company for about the past 25 years.
Yeah.
You really punish your body a lot.
Yeah.
And I used to be able to sit at night, excuse me, and I would get these pains in my knee, the skin crawl, and just, it was like I was constantly doing this all the time, just,
Yeah.
you know, and I thought it was like a nervous tick from just being a drummer. And so somebody had mentioned, you might want to get that checked. And I was having a hard time sleeping at night. My poor wife, she was getting kicked at night. Poor thing. I felt so sorry for her, and I was having a hard time sleeping.
Yeah.
And so I went to a doctor, and they said, it's restless leg syndrome, and they put me on medication. Well,
Wow.
the medication really affected how I did my job, because I work a very semi-dangerous job as a cable splicing technician. I could be 18 feet up in the air or 20 feet down on the ground, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I drive a large truck and work in the back of it, so I got to have my wits about me.
Yeah.
And so I went back to doctor. I actually got a second opinion on both but they were both almost verbatim. They said, "Look, if the medication is affecting you and we're not going to put you on something else, are you open to compression therapy?
Yeah.
And so, sorry, I feel like I got frog stuck in my throat. So if I
That's
keep,
all right.
excuse me. And so I started compression therapy. And of course, I was fitted with medical hosiery and everything. But the second person I went to was a nurse practitioner. She said, your condition is not so bad. I've seen people that are worse. You really don't need the medical hosiery. You can buy stuff over the counter. And so she recommended full support.
Okay.
And she gave me a few brands, from like Legs Active Support, Gains Alive, and a few others. And she said, then there's some other medical. They're a little more expensive,
Yeah.
even though my insurance covered the medical hosiery. They're thick, ugly, hot. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, yes, I do wear them during the summer, even at work and everything. But that's like on my really bad days, like if it's
Yeah.
like raining or something like that, and my joints are just going like crazy. Um,
Wow.
and so I started with that. And I remember the reaction my wife had when I got home. I had just gotten home from the doctor's office and the store.
Yeah.
And here it is. I'm putting it on. She's coming home from work and she comes to the bedroom. What are you doing? Is this something I don't know that I need to know here? And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I had explained it to her.
Yeah.
And but what I remember also, the first time I ever went out in public in shorts was that same year, almost several months later. It was on Thanksgiving Day because of our Thanksgiving holiday here in America,
Yeah.
and we were missing some not silverware, but more like with some plates and glasses
Yeah.
because we had some extra guests coming over for dinner. And so I went to the Dollar Tree to go pick up like some cheap, cutleries and cheap glasses and stuff like that. And I'm in, shorts kind of like this. By the way, if for those of you, if you're watching, I'm actually wearing Soni's Starry Night Tights by Soni Panda. I highly recommend this company.
Thank you.
She does great. I think Sonny might recommend them too. Uh, but so I went out and I come in and my wife's like, "What the hell are you doing? You're going out and everything, honey." Nobody said anything. Nobody
Yeah.
laughed. Nobody pointed. Nobody did anything because I was just wearing suntan. It looked
Yeah.
normal. And so from there, I saw after maybe a year or so, finally I started getting into different colors. Started getting into looking into fashion, like opaque tights. Looking into different types of brands. I started doing my homework.
Yeah.
I looked into men's brands. I looked into stuff like that. And then one thing that really helped me along was a forum called Legwear's Unisex Fashion.
Yeah.
They were the biggest help in breaking that mental chain, so to
Mm.
say, that nobody really pays attention to what you're doing. They're so busy doing this all
Yeah.
day that
Yeah.
they're not paying attention to what you're wearing.
Yeah.
And the way I wear it, it's so almost unnoticeable that because I color coordinate, I try
Yeah.
to make it look like it works. I mean, anybody who knows me, I'm wearing one of three things. I'm either wearing my favorite Green Bay Packers, or I'm wearing Star Wars,
Yeah.
or somewhere that I've traveled to. So I try to make it as casual as possible
Yeah.
and make it as unnoticeable as possible. And so that's from there. Then I started transitioning when I discovered your blog, and then I discovered Hosiery for Men's blog.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
You're familiar with him,
Yeah.
and and I love the style. So I kind of combined his style with yours. Yours had more pictures, but also you had a more personal
Mm.
assessment. His was a little more utilitarian. So I was like, let me kind of combine the both here and get the best of both worlds. So
Yeah.
I started up a moment with Speedking, which originally started as a life blog and transitioned into a hosiery blog.
Wow.
So, and I started doing that, and I did it for years until I started getting on Instagram. And I noticed that Instagram, I could do everything there. And so my blog really started deteriorating to the point where I was like, because I was using multiple. platforms to do one post,
Yeah.
especially if I was doing like video logs, but vlogs. And so I was using YouTube, I was using this, and I was using this, and doing all this editing. It took so much time to do one post that I was like, you know what? I could do everything on Instagram. So
Yeah.
I shut that down and went strictly to Instagram from there. And here I am today.
Wow. That is, wow. I like, that was such an insight. That was such a quick insight into your journey. But you know what? There's been so much in that, and it's like the two main bits I really picked. Well, there's about like 10, but like my two main bits is like you obviously touched upon the fact that when you did go out sort of the first time, it was nobody really paid attention, and I know
Yeah.
that a lot of people like when I've done this on previous episodes and as well as talking to different men um they have such a hard time doing that, especially if they've only ever sort of worn it at home and they're comfortable, but then trying to go out. It can be a very big deal for some people. And
Yes.
it's really interesting to hear. Like you just went right into it. You just did it and was like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that blew my mind because it was not many people do that. They need to have a understandably, everyone's different. So there's some people who need the little baby steps to be like, let me just go into
Yeah.
the garden, then let me step out the main gate, let me just go down my road, kind of thing, before I go out into the big wide world in a sense. But wow, and then obviously, and then you mentioned about your your wife as well. I was gonna say, how does she find all that? I mean, obviously, I know this kind of sort of stems from your medical condition and everything, but how did she find all of it as well? And obviously, I take it she supports you, and you know she's happy that you wear it, and you've got your own amazing style. It's just
Yeah.
you know, it's two really major things that I heard, and I was like, wow, this is wow.
Yeah, she's very supportive. She already knew of my fetish. Because but people need to understand my fetish primarily was towards women. That started all the way back when I was like maybe 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah,
That's when it really started kind of taking off. And a lot of my girlfriends all throughout school, you got to remember I grew up around pantyhose, and
yeah,
during that time, the women wore pantyhose and skirts all the time, so it was kind of the norm.
yeah,
And for the girls that I dated, they knew how to push my buttons to
yeah,
kind of get me revved up, so to say.
yeah.
And so when I explained to my wife, now understand, I did not realize I had a fetish until I was like in my 20s.
Okay.
When I met my wife, she was like, "Oh, you got a fetish? Okay, that's kind of cool." So she understood. She supported. She was cool, but I mean, I didn't wear at the time.
Yeah,
I mean, I might, occasionally put on or something like that. I had my own, she knew I had my own. But then, way later on, once I was wearing full time, it really took time for her to adjust and for my children. Now, my children were very young. So, I mean, I wore tights, I mean, while they were in elementary school, and I volunteered. So, what people don't realize,
yeah,
I volunteered when my kids were in elementary school, and I was front and center with all the parents, all everybody, because they
yeah,
already knew the content of my character. I
yeah,
was a very I was a very supportive dad. I was a very involved dad. I was there when my daughter played softball. I was front and center in front of thousands when my kids were in marching band in high school. So,
yeah,
and I mean the first game my when my oldest started marching band, and I joined up with the pit crew, and I was wearing a white band T-shirt that was given to that all the students were given along with the parents,
yeah,
you cargo shorts and off black support hose. And I remember the leader coming up to me. He was a former Marine,
yeah,
and he's like, "Son, I see that you're hardworking and everything, but I got to ask something. What the hell's that on your legs?" And I explained it to him. He goes,
yeah,
"Did they really help you?" I'm like, "They're a godsend to me." He goes,
yeah,
"Well, if that's works for you, it works for me. Let's go." Because he saw I was a hard worker, that I didn't shy away from anything. I was, just like, "Yeah, I'm here to help you out, man. Let's do it. Let's go for it."
yeah,
And the thing is that I'm not out there going, "Hi, how you do it?" No, I was like, "Show me the hardest thing that you need to do, and I'm out there. You need me to lift something, I'll lift something. You need me
yeah,
to put something together, I'll put something together." it's the fact of the matter is they see the content of my character, they see who I am, what I am. I'm not shy about it. I'm out there front and
Yeah.
center because I want people to know that I'm not out there to be some type of jolly gallivanting around or whatever. No, it's just I'm out there to work. I'm out there to be there for my kids and be
Mm.
there for my family and everything else. And I volunteer my time. Yeah, and even when my wife worked for the school system, I volunteered whenever she had, big events. I was there in tights, even like
Yeah.
this or whatever. It didn't matter. I didn't care what people think. I
Yeah.
stopped caring what people think a long time ago because this is my health, this is my body, this is my style, and if they don't like it, then that's their problem, not mine. And I'm not changing who I am.
Mm.
And that's just the way it is. And so when I started kind of putting things out there, was I nervous about it? Of course. Was I nervous that somebody will say something about it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just the same thing like with me wearing kilts. I mean, I started wearing kilts because I have my Scott Irish heritage and everything. And do I wear it with pantyhose and tights? Absolutely. Do I care what anybody thinks? I don't care. This is
Yeah.
me. This is who I am. I'm unapologetic about it. If you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. I'm not changing.
No,
So,
I totally, I totally get that. And I think that's why I think that's why I admire you so much because it's like how you said you're just unapologetically you and you just do what you want. Even I'm sure I saw it in your bio and it was like get over it. I wear pantyhose, get over it. And I'm like, yes, oh my God, yes. But it's just what it's really nice to hear the fact that I think it's just for me it's the complete kind of opposite because from what I hear generally is a lot of people naturally being scared about it, they don't know how people react. A lot of people do kind of care what others think, but then
mhm,
it's hearing your story and be like, yeah, you're just to that marine person, it was like, yeah, I wear it, and it was just
mhm,
sort of it was just really bold and brave and really it's really empowering to hear. I
yes,
think that's the word I'm looking for. It's so empowering and
yes,
it's really yeah, it's just it's so nice. It makes me feel warm because it's like, oh my God, like wow, there are actually people out there like that.
mhm,
And it's and even for our community, because obviously the hosiery community is full of so many different people on so many different stages of their journey. And
yes.
like hearing a story like yours, it could do wonders for at least one person out there to be like, oh my God, he did it. Why can't I kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's funny you should say that. I mean, because a lot of people come to me for advice, and I tell them, "said
Yeah,
Look, the way I did things is not for everybody." I
yeah,
said some people they need to take baby steps, but what I tell them is that what you need to learn is learn how to break that mental chain that's in your head. There
yeah.
are people out there they're so scared to step out that they're afraid that people are going to say something, do something. Number one, 90, I'm going to say 99% of the comments ever made to me when I'm out in public are all positive. The thing, it's
Wow.
so rare. It is so rare I ever get a negative comment. And usually that negative comment might be online, and it's
Yeah.
usually a one-off somewhere, and it's usually something stupid or uninformed. Really, if
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't really follow me, they of course they don't understand it, and I get that.
Mm.
Um, I might get the occasional disapproving look. I might get somebody who just like,
Yeah. Like, what's going on?
and
Yeah.
now my wife on the other hand, she's one of my biggest supporters, and God love her. She will confront somebody in a moment,
Nice.
and she's done it. I mean, just the other day I walked in. It was a very windy day, so unfortunately my kit was getting thrown up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But I hope I didn't
Yeah.
flash anybody. Uh, but we walked into a restaurant and somebody was like giving a hard stare, and she goes over and goes, "Are you my Uncle Tom? You look like somebody. You look so familiar." So she will embarrass the hell out of somebody who's trying to embarrass me.
Yeah.
She is a bulldog, and I love her to death that she does it. It's so awesome. She is the most awesome. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world to have the wife that I have. I put her, she is my Croatian princess, my queen bee. I mean, seriously.
Oh,
And
that's so nice.
and she, her and I, we do so much together, and we do all kinds of things, all kinds of little projects. I mean, like with our bakery business that we do in our home,
Yeah.
and then our traveling, and even my OF, my spicy site. She's behind the camera on a lot of the stuff, so we work on it together. So
Yeah.
it's so there are no secrets, between us or anything. She knows, I know her deep dark secrets. She knows mine. So we work together on everything. So a lot of people. Another question I always say: does your wife know you
Oh
wear
yeah.
pantyhose?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, she's known since we were engaged. Actually, since we were dating. I mean,
Yeah.
hello. I mean, she's been to band practices. We fought off, other women that tried to, we've done this, we've done it. Come on, please.
Yeah. No, that you know what, and that's really nice as well because once again, like hearing obviously what I've heard on different sort of episodes, and as well as speaking to people just on a one-to-one through DMs or whatever, and it is just they don't know how to approach their partner and speak to them about it. Always like, oh, but how do you do it? And it's like, and I always say communication is a huge key. It's just you should
It
be
is.
able to openly be yourself and express that, and hopefully they are the right person to understand, like, okay, this is that. And it's just, yeah, it's so nice that, honestly, it's so nice to hear it makes me smile because you think, yeah, you know what, there are actually women out there who will love and support, but it is
Mhm.
just, it's being open and honest, and and having those kind of potentially hard conversations. But it
Yeah.
is, at the end of the day, they'll either accept you, or they won't. It'll go either way, but it's just, at least you've been your true self, kind of
Yes.
thing. Oh my God, this is just wow, just
Oh yeah, communication is absolute key, and that's the one thing.
yeah.
When it came to our marriage, I always look at one thing because I lived through so many divorces that my mom went through. You got to have love because without love, you got nothing. You got to communicate. You got to know what your spouse is thinking, and likewise, and vice versa.
Mm,
Number three, you've got to have trust. If you cannot trust each other to walk out that door or go in the other room or anything like that, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I've seen so many marriages decay because of the lack of trust. And this may not be for everybody because everybody has their own religion, their own beliefs.
yeah.
But for me, our belief in God and our religion that we, you know, it's one of the key things to us. And so that in its own right, it's for the key to the survival of our marriage. Our 20 some
Yeah.
year, 25, actually almost 20, such as a 27-year marriage.
Wow, wow. Yeah, no, and I definitely agree. I definitely agree with your values there. And it is really important, especially if, just say, if it's just you wearing hosiery and not your wife, or if you're both wanting to do it together. And
Yeah,
yeah, I totally understand that. I totally
absolutely,
understand that.
absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, right? So you've obviously mentioned that you wear hosiery around your kids as well. What's like, obviously, because once again, obviously, I know it's gonna be an interesting topic because some people are like, no, I choose not to, which is fine, totally fine.
Yes.
But then obviously there's always going to be, oh, what's that like? What, like, don't your kids question? Do you know what I mean? I can imagine you must get asked that all the time. But yeah, how's it been like? Do you get asked the awkward questions, and what's it like?
I mean, so when I first approached my kids about it and I explained everything to them,
Yeah,
now understand they were still in elementary school, they were very young.
yeah.
And what was really cool though, see, I was considered the cool dad
Oh, okay,
throughout
yeah,
school.
yeah,
And whereas all their friends kind of feared my wife because she's very strict. She came from an Eastern European immigrant family, so
yeah,
she grew up in a strict way. And so she helped, and so she worked and volunteered at the elementary school, and then became a family advocate working in the school system. So they all knew, like, oh dear, crap, we got to be
yeah,
careful around mom. But
yeah,
the thing is, they always thought, well, your dad's cool, man. So they really didn't see that. They didn't
yeah,
care. They were like, oh wow, he does that. Oh, that's kind of cool, man. That's a cool look, or that's this is cool,
mm,
or that's cool. And then I would get on the occasion. It's so rare I really get asked about it, but I remember the very first questions I would get. I remember the first time I wore black shears, and it was to my next door neighbor, and she goes, all right, I gotta ask you something. So what's going on with this? And I had to explain it to her. She was
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, well that's kind of cool. That's neat. But
yeah,
then but then her daughter-in-law, when we were having this big get together, they were having like a cookout and everything. And I mean, I'm in black pantyhose, just as plain as day. Nobody else is asking. I'm sitting there just drinking along with everybody else, having a great conversation. And
yeah.
the daughter-in-law comes up, she goes, are you wearing black pantyhose? And I'm sitting there just like around all these other guys. I'm just sitting there going, maybe. That's like, yes. Why? And I explained to her why. And so she had all these questions to ask
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
forth. But probably my favorite reaction out of all
yeah,
was it was a Christmas party I went to
yeah.
at a friend's house, and I had on every Christmas. I always wear red. I like to
Mm,
wear like I would wear a Hawaiian, nice red Christmas like Hawaiian shirt. I love my
mm,
Hawaiian shirts, by the way. If you haven't already noticed,
yeah.
um, I had a red Hawaiian shirt. It had like cargo shorts. Had bright red opaque tights on.
Mm,
And so, and I had been there for several hours, been talking to anybody, and all of a sudden, I get a call from the kitchen, and my wife, she's like, "Hey, come on in here." Now, understand, we've been doing this for 2 hours. We're talking to everybody, been all over the place, and then all of a sudden, her friend is saying, and she's like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize he had on red tights. Oh my God, 2 hours, and I'm just now noticing this."
yeah,
That shows you the
yeah,
power of owning your look.
yeah.
That shows the power of when you color coordinate, when you take control of the situation. Most people don't notice.
Mm,
Most people don't care until it's pointed out. And even though I was in front of this person multiple times throughout the night during those 2 hours,
yeah.
and she just realized it. Then another person in another room they said had some there was like, "Are you wearing tights?" Yes. Why? Hold on. Flag on the play. Why? And once I explained it to him and everything, and at this time, at the time I was double layering, so I was wearing like a
Oh, yeah,
support layer. I was wearing a support layer over under the opaque layer, so
yeah.
I had my support. And so once I explained, she was like, "Oh, my daughter had that. Oh, this was kind of cool. Oh, and you think that would help me? Oh." And I so many questions poured out from that point.
Wow.
People wanted to know more, and they wanted to constantly ask, what about this and what about that, and how did this happen? And they wanted to know my story from that point on.
Yeah,
And you know, and people, whereas your own family is afraid that that somebody's going to say something to you. 9 times out of 10, most people will come up and say, "Dude, you rock that look."
yeah.
I actually had a mom one time. It was waiting for a Christmas platter had ordered at Chick-fil-A, and this mom comes up to me and she goes with her son. "I have to go tell you, you are rocking that look. That's a great look. Those tights would keep you so warm and everything, and
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. I commend you. You're such a brave guy, and I'm telling you,
Wow.
love this." And I'm sitting there going, "Okay, thank you. Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah.
I appreciate it." So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I get so many compliments just on my looks because I own the look. I don't I'm unabashed about it. I will, and I try to color coordinate as much as possible to make it fashionable, make it look right, to the point where you would literally ignore it and not notice it.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Just,
Hmm.
do you know what? It's been so interesting hearing this. And you know, honest to God, I've now got so many questions. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I'm asking this. Oh my God, he's asking this. But you know what? I would love to, because it's like, I know obviously we're going to be running out of time soon, but
Yes,
I would love to have you on for part two, just to sort of delve in a little bit with you in terms of like having the confidence. And like my biggest question as well, and it's like, I would definitely want to ask you this on the next episode, is
sure,
like, if you never had this medical condition, would you wear tights or pantyhose in a sense as well? So it's, and I think that's my biggest, it was like, okay, like I really want to get his thoughts on this. But
sure,
I love, I've loved hearing about your journey, and I really hope to God everyone else's as well, because it's been, honestly, I've been smiling throughout the whole thing, because it's like, oh, wow, it's so incredible.
sure. I would
Honestly,
love to come back on and explain and talk about it.
oh, thank you. No, honestly, because I really do want to get you on for part two, just to delve in a little bit more, and just because it's, I know obviously some people are going to be asking questions about it, and I know watching this again, I'll end up being like, oh, I forgot to ask him this. Oh, this is going to come up too. I want to be asking this as well. So yeah, I'm going to have a list of questions ready for the next one. But
Absolutely.
but honestly, no, do you know what? Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. It's been really, really lovely. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on. I feel honored. So it's to finally be able to talk to you one on one, and this has been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to do it again.
No, brilliant. No, thank you so much, Rob. And obviously, yes, we'll be planning part two. So everybody, yes, there will be a part two coming soon. We won't leave it too long, because I try not to do that now. This year, I'm trying to be more proactive.
Don't
So
worry, she'll have the man the enigma, the fuzzball behind the mic on the one and only DJ speaking.
goodness. But no, but thank you so much for being here and just taking the time out to have this conversation. I really do
Awesome.
appreciate it. Thank you. Take care
Uh,
now.
mwah.